Once a month, I aim to read a non-fiction book and pull out the wisdom that I can use in my own writing, my own creative and online life, and where it can help with my creative mindset. I then write an essay with the strands I've pulled out on my Substack, helenredfern.substack.com, and create a video such as this one. This video looks at The Success Myth by Emma Gannon. Published this year in 2023, The Success Myth addresses the issue of so many of us becoming workaholics, burned out, having poor mental health and so on, just because we give everything to our jobs and have nothing left over for ourselves. It seems we are hustling and striving and climbing the corporate or freelance ladder all in the name of success without stopping to think what it is. What is it we truly want? If it's success, then what is it? If it's money, then how much would be enough? Is it celebrity, happiness? What is propelling us forward? Or is it something undefined? And if it is, how will we know when we've got there? Now, before I go any further forward and tell you all about Emma and her book, The Success Myth, I just need to point out that I've got a dog by my feet who is either making snuffling noises or snoring or fidgeting about in some way, and a tractor has just arrived in the field next to me and is ploughing the field. So if you hear any background noise, that's all it is. We are always a little bit rough and ready in these videos, and that's just the way it is. So, who is Emma Gannon? Emma is actually someone I've really been inspired by in recent years. She's just over a decade younger than me, but I've always admired her ability to put herself out there, to write and complete books despite her own mindset issues, which she talks about in her previous non-fiction books. And here we've got the multi-hyphen method, which was her first non-fiction book. And then we've also got Disconnected, How to Stay Human in an Online World, and Sabotage, How to Silence Your Inner Critic and Get Out of Your Own Way. So I believe The Success Myth is Emma's 5th published book, her 4th non-fiction, and she's also had a novel published called Olive. Of course, Emma has had her ups and downs, including recently her run-in with burnout and her confusion and unhappiness in her writing career, as detailed in the beginning, in the introduction of The Success Myth. It is aimed at those who are sacrificing a lot for their idea of success without actually questioning what success means to them. In fact, it could be that they are chasing a myth. Emma takes you through all the myths around success. So if we have a look here at the chapters, the contents, you can see that chapter 1, there is no success formula. Then she talks about the happiness myth, the productivity myth, the you are your job myth, the celebrity myth, the money myth, the ambition myth, the tick box myth, and the arrival myth. Now, in all honesty, and this is something I've written about on my Substack essay about this book, I don't believe that I am the intended audience, the core audience, if you like, because I am a young Generation X. As Emma actually points out in this book, your ambition peaks around the age of 33, and I am slightly more than 33, and I had my realization, if you like, that I didn't want to be on a hamster treadmill of corporate career, London marketing treadmill that I had been on in my mid to late 20s, I actually wanted to do something else with my life. And I was kind of forced into that pivot because I became pregnant and had my first child, and I struggled with my mental health and I couldn't go back to work. So that's when I started writing. So I was kind of forced into a different creative life. I believe I've kind of been there, done that. However, there are still lots of nuggets inside here that I can incorporate into my creative life as it is now. So I've pulled out 4 or 5 pieces of wisdom already on my Substack, and you can go ahead and read that. It is free to read until around the 15th of October 2023, and then it goes behind a paywall. But I also wanted to share my annotations and the other bits that have really caught my eye. Word of warning, my annotations aren't neat. Emma opens up this chapter by saying, I'm allergic to gurus telling us about the easy steps to success. There is no success formula, and be aware of people trying to sell you a success formula. And then she talks about balance. Balance, which haunts and punishes modern women more and more every day. We are constantly being told that we should be achieving balance, that we should somehow exquisitely be negotiating the relationships between our work lives, our home lives, our romantic lives, our health and well-being, our spiritual selves. The word balance has tilted dangerously close, I fear, to the word perfect, another word that women use as weapons against themselves and each other. And I couldn't agree more with that. And I do believe as well with social media that we know this, don't we? We are shown the highlight reel of people's lives. And when people put up these videos or photographs or reels or whatever it is of how it seems they have this perfect life and a balanced life and a, air quotes, successful life, but what is going on behind the scenes? Emma says at the bottom here, sometimes life is unbalanced and that's okay. Sometimes I work lots and lots of hours with my writing. There are other days that I do very little and I concentrate on other things like my family or my garden or going travelling or things like that. Balance doesn't have to be a daily occurrence. It could be over a significant stretch of time, and that's okay. And then in this section, Emma is talking about how, I think she was kind of inspired by Kim Kardashian, and was it Molly May, who said that the secret to success is to work hard, and that we all have the same 24 hours in a day. And they had a big backlash to those comments. And Emma's written here, when people believe all their success is just down to hard work, a blame culture starts to emerge, which implies that anyone who doesn't reach the lofty heights of success just can't have been using their 24 hours well enough or working hard enough. I would also add this kind of encourages comparison as well, because I might have started off at the same level, if not higher up, in terms of maybe subscribers or views or paid subscribers or followers or whatever than somebody else. And they come along, maybe they create a YouTube channel, maybe they create a Substack, maybe they just start writing a book and they get published and I haven't been. They gain thousands of subscribers and I'm still languishing around 4,000. They have got thousands of subscribers straight away on their on their Substack and suddenly they're earning thousands of pounds a month. And you think, well, hang on a minute. I'm working exactly the same as them. I'm working just as hard. Why is it they are more successful than me? I think what happens then is that you blame yourself. Well, it must be me. I can't be as talented as them. I can't be as clever as them. I can't be as creative as them. I'm not working hard enough. I need to put in more hours. There is a blame culture, and we blame ourselves when we see that others are more successful than ourselves. And that is if we measure success in terms of follower numbers, subscriber numbers, the money that we make from our creativity. And that is real food for thought. It's very difficult not to compare. I've recently come back to YouTube and I've been watching a few videos about these creatives who have just become monetized, and they are sharing the secrets to their monetization on YouTube. So they're sharing their secrets of success. And then they start talking about how much they have started earning as soon as they became monetized. And that money is nowhere near what I'm earning. It's significantly more. So I'm thinking, what am I doing wrong? I've been doing this for years. I've been monetized since 2020. What am I doing wrong? My videos must be rubbish. And then you start spiraling. It's very, very difficult, I think, because I work just as hard as other creatives. Now here, we're still in the there is no success formula chapter, and Emma is adamant that there is no formula for success, but having done her podcast and interviewed lots of successful creative people, she has tried to look at what the commonalities are between them. And the thing that she's come up with is that they are all contrarians. And again, I've written about this section more in my Substack essay, but I was really, really drawn to this. And I think it's because, well, let me read this out first. So what is contrarian? And I haven't highlighted this, even though I've used it as a quote in my essay. A contrarian reasons independently from the ground up and resists pressure to conform. There is something about their confidence that propels them forward into luck and success. This doesn't make them more talented or better than anyone else, but they possess a state of mind that means they are more likely to try to succeed. They believe in the path they are taking. They feel compelled. They listen to their feelings. They follow their gut instincts. They are in tune with some sort of inner voice. And I couldn't help but compare this with myself and with some of my mentoring clients and other people that I see around me on the internet who are looking for rules on how to be a good creative, rules on how to be a good writer. They ask what the rules are. They go searching and go down rabbit holes looking for the best way to do things in order to be successful. And they are not listening to their own gut instincts. They are not listening to what it is that they want to do, what they want to write about. And if they are just chasing something that somebody else has written about and has become this kind of rule on the internet, even if they follow that path and they do become successful in the traditional sense of the word, with more subscribers and maybe making money from what they're doing, are they successful if they're not following their own instincts or their own true path of what it is that they want to write about? And it's very similar to those who write purely for their audience and not for themselves. If what you're writing about aligns with what you want to write about, as well as what your audience wants to hear from you, then that's fantastic. But if you're writing about something that's simply for your audience and you dislike writing that, is that successful, even if you appear successful? And I just think that we could all be more contrarian. We could all be well, all listen to our creative instincts a lot more. What is it that we really want to write about? If we didn't have to worry about niches, what would we create? Be more contrarian. The happiness myth. I wrote this down, a Medium article idea, and this is because Emma has put, I don't want to smile. You know when you're walking down the street and someone says to you, oh, cheer up, love. How many times has that happened to me? More so when I was in my 20s and 30s. I mean, I'm probably more invisible now, but when I was in my 20s and 30s, walking down the streets in London or wherever I was, cheer up, love, either shouted at me from a car or from a person passing by, etc., etc. I could have been in the middle of a thought, or I could have been thinking about what to have for dinner, or thinking about a book that I've just read, and I'm told to cheer up. Some of us don't have a smile plastered on our faces all the time. And this kind of leads on to this paragraph that Emma has written. So many of us are trapped in the ways we are supposed to feel. And this, has to be mimicked in our actions, like having a smile on our faces. But when do we actually question the things in life that give us satisfaction in the moment? Most of the time, the things I think should give me joy actually don't, whereas the things I overlook as boring or familiar or small give me huge dollops of joy. For example, getting attention on social media often makes me feel flat, yet conversation when a good friend calls me out of the blue when I'm convinced I'm too busy instantly cheers me up. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of thinking about what I've just said here as well in terms of what we think we have to write in order to be successful. And I think it's a bit fuzzy in my head, but what we think we have to write in order to be happy as well. Once I've written X, once I've written Y, then I'll be happy. It's always something that's going to happen in the future, then we can allow ourselves to be happy instead of feeling joy along the way. And Emma's put here, many of us have the idea that one day we will crack the happiness code, that once we make it, we will reach an everlasting state of contentment. I'll be happy when, I'll be happy if. That will make me happy when I get there. Happiness is used in the context of the future a lot, but I found that in the present moment it feels more like joy, and it's okay if it is fleeting. And again, as I look around me at my desk and all the notebooks I've got piled next to me and all the work that I'm working on, and it's so tempting to think that, once I've finished this particular project, then I will be happy. But then that's ignoring the bits of joy along the way. I don't know if you've seen Something's Gotta Give with Diane Keaton and Jack Nicholson. I've got a big poster of it next to me here in my office. And in that film, Diane Keaton is a playwright. She's a writer. And I remember when things don't work out between her and Jack Nicholson's character, she starts to write a play. She becomes unblocked, and she suddenly finds that she's got this focus and drive to write it. And even though she's really upset because her relationship hadn't worked out, there are moments in that writing process where she gets really excited because she's written a really good sentence, or something's come together for her, or she's worked out a plot point or something like that. And you can see her going, yes, yes. And it's moments of that, like that I strive for. Rather than, yes, it feels great when you've finished it. It does feel great. But whilst writing it and having those small moments, those fleeting moments of joy, I think is just so wonderful. Now, on this page, Emma talks about the reptilian brain. It's actually called that. I'm not even going to attempt to read how that's pronounced. It's called the reptilian brain. This is an old part of our brain that is in charge of fight, flight, feeding, fear, freezing up, fornication. It's the part of our brain that overreacts when it thinks we are in danger. Again, I've written about this in my Substack essay, but I believe it's this part of our brain, and Emma calls it her lizard brain. It's this part of our brain that stops us pushing forward with our creativity. It is trying to protect us from failing, or it's trying to protect us from the way our life might change if we succeed. It's trying to protect us from criticism, or worst case scenario, that 1-star review, or trolls really picking apart our work, or ourselves even, because they can't separate our work from ourself as a human being. So I was really interested in this lizard brain aspect, and Emma talks about kind of separating that part and realizing that that part of her brain is not being truthful with her. It's just trying to protect her. And I think if you can grasp that, and maybe your writing journal might be really helpful here, and saying, look, this is the bit, this is the lizard brain, what is it telling me? And then saying, well, what is the actual reality? And whether this will help you with your creative fears, with your creative mindset, and help you push forward despite your lizard brain trying to stop you. Anyway, I felt that was really, really interesting. Now, the final chapter that I'm going to look at is the productivity myth chapter. Again, I found this really interesting. Our modern life to-do list seems to be getting longer, not shorter. We glamorize overworking. We move on to the next thing without taking in what we've just done. And I think so many of us do this. I was going to say are guilty of doing this, but I didn't want to put guilt on ourselves, but we do this. And I used to do this. It's like, oh yeah, I've done that essay, now I'll just move on to the next thing. Whereas now I have my post-it task system. So behind me on my wall, I have a sheet full of all these post-its, and I've got different colours for different projects. Every time I am going to work on a particular project, so this is the project that I'm working on at the moment, the video, the book club flip through, I put it in this planning notebook, and then when I have completed it, I put it here. These are all the tasks, the mini projects or whatever that I have completed during the month of September so far. And by doing this, I can see that I am making progress. And when I just take that and pop it here, I feel a sense of accomplishment. I feel that I have achieved something, and I do a little woohoo. Maybe I'll get myself a biscuit or something like that before I move on to the next thing. But when it's even something bigger that you've built up in your head for a significant period of time, and it's some really big, huge mountain in front of you, and then you finally achieve it, and you don't even acknowledge it, you just kind of berate yourself for not having done it sooner. I mean, hands up if you've done that. I know I have. So yeah, really, I think this is something that this chapter, the productivity chapter, has really emphasised for me, is that we need to look at everything that we do. And this it doesn't even have to be work things. It could be a challenge that you've set yourself within your just normal daily life rather than your work life. When you've done it, if it scares you in particular, or if it takes that really a lot of work, a lot of focus, a lot of time, a lot of energy, then do make sure that you say, well done, Helen. You did something hard, and acknowledge it before you move on. I mean, there's so much good stuff in this book, but I can't pull it all out because this would be a very, very long video. But finally, Emma talks about milestone goals versus process goals. And I've put, write about this, explore and expand. And I wrote that with some excitement because I realised this is something that I was doing already. I think for many years I would have this kind of daydream where I would think about my book being published and having a launch party, or traveling around the country and signing my books and doing all those kind of exciting things. But that was just looking at the end result. I was just focusing on what would happen when it was finished. And when I got to my desk every morning, I wouldn't work on my book. I think I had built it into such a big thing. It was just the milestone goal. It was a huge goal. So instead, I started to focus on little tasks throughout the day. And again, that's what these are. So I would focus on the small things regularly. This would give me momentum. This would give me motivation. I would also make sure my surroundings are somewhere that I enjoy being. So that's why I have my desk the way it is. That's why I have my office with all my books, with all my notebooks surrounding me. I occasionally bring in seasonality, like my pumpkins, or the tulips in spring. I make it a place that I want to be so that I can enjoy every day, every moment of my writing. Obviously, I don't enjoy every day and every moment of my writing. Wednesday this week was pretty horrendous. I didn't enjoy that. But I try and romanticize, I guess. That's the word on YouTube. I romanticize my writing week, my writing day, so that I can focus on process goals and rather than the big milestone one. So Emma says, the question I come back to is this: is it really success in the end if you had a miserable time getting there? Recently, I have been much more curious about enjoying the process of something rather than jumping straight to my daydreams of a fantasy outcome. Exactly the same as me. So with a milestone goal, it is all about the end achievement, like running a marathon, whereas a process goal could be training for a marathon or even enjoy training for a marathon. The process goal is not just about the goal itself, but about experiencing it, being present for it, noticing the time spent on it, and learning to congratulate yourself along the way. This has got lots of useful nuggets of wisdom in it. The bits that I've pulled out and the bits I've mentioned in my essay are the particular bits of wisdom that I was really drawn to, and I think I can focus on more in my writing and my creative life. I hope you enjoyed this video. I will do another video next month on the current book of the month for October.